Hey, welcome back to New School News. I'm Allison Royal. Recently, I published an independent report talking all about sexual education over in California. So, we talked about how some school districts, nurse practitioners, doctors, you name it, in some instances, teach children to masturbate using food. It turns out that sexual education is a big topic all over the country and what children are learning in this day and age. Right now, a lot of people are talking about New Jersey. Starting in September of this year, some new curriculum is set to launch over in New Jersey. It all started when State Senator Holly Schepisi, who represents two different counties over in New Jersey, voiced some concerns about an organization called Amaze.
Schepisi took a look at some of the curriculum that kids in New Jersey would learn. That's put together by that company, Amaze.
I'm very open with my children. I have full communication about pretty much every topic. And even for myself, I was really shocked at some of the lesson plans, how explicit some of the lesson plans were for even kids in, second grade, fifth grade.
According to its website, in 2020, Amaze received 50 million video views while kids were locked home during the pandemic. According to its annual report, one of the easiest ways that it educates kids is through global partnerships through TikTok and its popular YouTube channel.
Amaze makes plenty of YouTube videos, and according to its 2020 annual report, it receives millions of views all over the world.
And I know my son is all things, YouTube. And so I said, let me click on the YouTube link, as any kid who would go to the website would do. And the very first video that came up was, is it okay to watch porn?
This is a small snippet of the children's video, which is available to watch online for free.
Yes, it's normal. Lots of people watch porn. After all, it's right there and it's free. And anyway, many people are curious about this sex stuff. But, and it's a big but, remember, porn is not real. It's just
It was a video that was, telling kids that it's okay for them to watch porn. Everybody does it. Hey, it's free. But porn stars are kind of like superheroes and everything is exaggerated on them. So keep that in mind. And I was watching it and I'm going, nowhere in this video does it say, hey, maybe if you're 9 or 10 years old, you shouldn't be watching porn.
Regardless of where you live, are your kids learning about sex by watching these Amaze videos? It's possible. The company has a large reach. 32 lesson plans reached about 700,000 students that year. You might wonder how Amaze makes its money. There is another organization based in DC called Advocates for Youth, which is the fiscal sponsor for Amaze. According to its website, quote, Advocates for Youth organizes thousands of young people to fight for sexual health, rights, and justice. Young people understand that reproductive and sexual health and rights are inextricably tied to social justice and the fight for liberation.
But take a look at this.
This is a copy of its 2019 tax return, which is public record. According to the IRS, it received over $780,000 in grant money that year. However, the majority of its funding comes from private contributions. We're talking nearly $9 million. So, who supports Amaze? According to Amaze, it's backed by huge organizations like the United Nations and the International Planned Parenthood Federation.
Consultants and various people are making millions upon millions of dollars to implement these policies in our school districts at a time that a lot of our schools are struggling budgetarily and otherwise.
That's not the only hot topic when it comes to sex education over in New Jersey. This is a dropbox with links to curriculum for young elementary school students, which is also developed by Advocates for Youth. I linked to the full Dropbox link with lesson plans in the description of this Rumble video. One of the more talked about lesson plans is for first graders. It's called Pink, Blue, and Purple. It's an interactive lesson plan teaching kids about gender identity. A representative for the state's Department of Education sent me Governor Murphy's reaction to those gender identity lesson plans. This is from a press conference earlier this week.
I'd say a couple of things. Number one, I think there's some sort of sense that parents have no say, and I would just say emphatically, parents deserve absolutely to have a say in this sort of stuff, along with all other interested parties, but probably none more interested than parents. Number two, I don't like the fact that some are using this as an opportunity to score political points and to further divide us versus them. In particular, I say that on behalf of the LGBTQIA plus communities. Let's everybody not use this to divide us. And thirdly, I think if you look at the standards, by the way, folks should know that these standards were voted on by the state's Board of Education, I believe, 2 years ago. So this is not a new development, but local boards are required to have these implemented by this coming fall, which is why I think this has come up as a topic. I think if you look at the actual standards, they're a pretty high level. In other words, they're not very prescriptive. They're at a high level, I would say. But if folks think that they need to be adjusted or altered, and there's a reasonable argument for that, count me as somebody who's willing to entertain that. Absolutely.
I reached out to the New Jersey Department of Education with questions. The department spokesperson told me in part, New Jersey's academic standards, New Jersey student learning standards, define what students should know and be able to do at the end of specified grade levels. The 2020 NJSLS in Comprehensive Health and Physical Education are designed to ensure that all students acquire the health and physical literacy skills needed to pursue a life of wellness at developmentally appropriate ages, including knowledge and skills related to sexual health. Any allegations to the contrary misrepresent the NJSLS CHPE standards. The New Jersey Department of Education does not mandate specific curriculum. It is the responsibility of local school districts to create curriculum tailored to and in consultation with their communities.
My caucus and leadership sent both to the governor as well as to the new Senate president a letter asking that we kind of put the brakes on this until we get appropriate guidance for our school districts and understand really what is being mandated and what needs to be incorporated. If it's trying to, get rid of gender stereotypes and saying that boys and girls should both be able to play with dolls and trucks and stuff like that, I have no issue with it. If we are trying to, convince children who are 5, 6, 7 years old that they're not a boy or a girl, I think we have to have more robust discussion about the efficacy of that.
He also referenced Florida's highly publicized parental rights in education law, telling me, quote, when turning on the national news subjects LGBTQ youth to hostility and misunderstanding, such as through Governor DeSantis of Florida's signing of the Don't Say Gay legislation, it is important for schools to communicate acceptance and affirmation to all their students. We will continue to support schools in advancing these values. I reached out to Christina Pushaw, the press secretary for Ron DeSantis, about a separate report I'm working on for a story regarding that legislation in Florida. She told me in part, there are some troubled people who want to inject inappropriate sexual and gender ideology into K-3 classrooms.
I'm a huge proponent of providing resources for LGBTQ youth, for teaching kids to be kind to one another, to be accepting. All that being said, the lesson plans eliminate the concept of gender altogether at the earliest of ages. Teaching kids who are in kindergarten, first grade, very, biological terms, clitoris, vulva, all these type of things, but also telling them that just because they may have one doesn't make them a girl, or because they have a penis, it doesn't make them a boy. And for age appropriateness, it's way too young. Let our kids be kids. Let's not try to confuse them even more.
I reached out to Amaze twice for an interview and to hear its perspective, but I have not heard back yet.
If that changes, I will post that interview right here on my Rumble channel. Now, if you want to make sure that you catch all of my Rumble videos, the easiest way to do that, and the way that I recommend doing it, please, is subscribing. So you just hit that button in the upper right-hand corner. I'm Allison Royal, and this is New School News.